Right. So I'm doing a review of a book called The Song of Dragons by Daniel Aronson. Um, the reason I'm doing this, and I hate it to be my first review and my first proper vlog on this channel because I'm not making anything else. Um, I'm making everything else before this unavailable because the show that I was thinking of just didn't work. So I decided to do some like geeky, almost vloggy things, and just general crap that pops into my head. And this is the first thing that I thought about because when I was reading it, I hated it, and it's been a long time since I came across a book that I hated this much. I read the whole book, but because of the reviews on Amazon, I had actually picked it up and the trilogy already because I bought them for my Kindle. So it was cheaper to buy the trilogy than it was to just buy this book, which is fair enough. And it wasn't that expensive, so grand. But I don't think it was worth the price that I actually did pay for it because it was so bad. Fair enough. So I won't be giving away any spoilers on this. I will say that maybe I wasn't the target audience here, but I couldn't really see any audience taking this book and calling it good, which is why I'm so baffled by the sheer amount of amazing reviews that it got. That author is clearly really nice to someone. Um, so I picked up this book and it was explained as a gritty modern fantasy, gritty epic fantasy along the lines of George R. Martin, A Song of Ice and Fire, and the general gritty modern fantasy that you see nowadays, like with the Mistborn trilogies and and So They Were Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. Is that what it's called? Maybe it's not called that. But I started this book at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. I finished this book at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon while in work. So I read it going to work on my break and then on like a little break that I took to drink coffee. Um, it was terrible. I flew through it because there were everything seemed to be a disjointed action sequence of the heroes running away and for some strange reason running for like all night and all day, and the bad guys who weren't chasing them at the time still managed to catch them the next morning. I've no idea how they managed to do it. They're supposed to be incredibly fast. So what the story is actually about is there are these people who can turn into dragons, and they have a kingdom called Requiem. Requiem. I can never say it right. Requiem. And uh, there's this king who has two sons. One of them can turn into a dragon, another one can't. This is not spoilers. You learn about it in the first 5 pages. Don't worry about that. Um, so the king's oldest son can't turn into a dragon, so the king banishes him or exiles him. King's an asshole. So the eldest son kills the king, takes control of these weapons that the kingdom has, and uses it to burn the kingdom to the ground, killing absolutely everyone but 5 people. One of whom is his younger brother, who was the heir to the throne. Um, and then the actual story is set 10 years after this war happens, where the older brother, who can turn into a dragon, is now the leader of the world, and he's slowly killing off every single last dragon in the world. Okay, so that's it. So the main characters, I can't imagine, there was no characterization here. It was just horrible sequences of fight or flight and people arguing with each other about what was right and what was wrong and how the war was over, and how we could still win it even though they'd slaughtered tens and thousands of the dragon people. 5 people are supposed to be able to beat them. It was just baffling to me. I couldn't get into it. Um, the bad guy's motivation was even weirder. He was completely insane, but which is fair enough. But like, he was the leader of a nation that just allowed him to take over. They didn't even contest it, as far as I could read. There was nothing to say that they contested it, except for the dragon people, you know, all got killed by him. But anyway, terrible. One of the worst books I've ever read. I did buy the trilogy because it was cheaper on Kindle, like I said. But I won't be reading the next one. I couldn't care less about the characters to want to even read it. And normally I would read a trilogy if I could, but with this I just can't. And it's really annoying because I wanted to use this to catch up on my Goodreads. You know, they do that every year. You have a specific amount of books that you want to read. I've got 50 at the moment, so I wanted to use this book to catch up with it, but it's not worth it. So I'm just drinking tea in my Mickey Mouse cup. He's had a rough day. So I think he's actually hungover. I don't know. What do you think? Hungover, Mickey? Some mornings are rough. So, yeah, I didn't connect with this story. I thought the characterization was weak, the story was disjointed, the action sequences were good, but my main problem with this was the author's use of rape. You see this a lot with gritty fantasy lately, but like, it seems like Mr. Aronson kind of went a little bit overboard. The bad guy basically just rapes everyone he can, whenever he can. He's like, I'm gonna rape you. From the very first chapter, that's what you see. Yeah, it was disturbing to see him do it and talk about it, and that was really the only thing I came away with. Nothing. I can't even remember the bad guy's name. I can just remember that he liked raping things, and I think that was a specific plot point that the writer put in, because he was probably thinking, what's the worst thing we can do? I know, rape. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling that book. I won't be reading the rest. I hope to do a couple more book reviews, but not this time. And like I said, maybe I wasn't the target audience. I think it might have been for young adults, but you know, Harry Potter is for young adults and kids, and I connect with that. I don't know. I'm not feeling this book. I don't give stars to reviews. I can just say that this was poorly written. The action sequences were disjointed. There seemed to be no logic in the progression of the story, and all of the characters were weak. Yeah, so that's it. Hope you like. Obviously, I hope you don't read the book. If you did read the book, please let me know why you thought it was good. Yeah, thanks.